Yo, it's World War, source supplies are scarce. Listen to ours, prepare hibernating cabins while terrain scorches. We think tanks in symbolic fortress. Socialism forces to flee Holocaust agendas. Burn offerings with the flesh, burn on equinox. Eagle star of bloodlines, combine and scatter minds. War crimes is nutricide, fluoridate the populace. Bombs over Baghdad, Nazi and Unagi fed. Indie minds, the clock time, out of bodily proportions. From fire to ether elements. Death ray weapons, greatest death slaves suffering. Under gold and silver tricks of the Bilderberg curves, aggression. Still a speeding time, tap your mind and kind of riot. They usurp the few to colonize foreign planets.
How do we stop a system of greed and corruption that condemns poor populations to slavery?
Government issued maladies and fallacies, proprietary cures and environmental travesties, airborne inoculations, desensitized by hypnotic occupations. Join the coalesced congregations, era of time, measure mechanical clock. Got you stuck inside a box with a predictable plot. Majority of Earth's population facing decimation. Funny flavor in your water, poison that you're tasting. Purity is hard to replenish once the carcinogenic has been introduced. Your impulse has been seduced, induced to spread virally venereal infections. Germinate the seed, breed material possessions. Seek to pacify through transgression. Subatomic body control, submission and subliminal lessons. Through corporate talismans, you perceive the enchantress. The deed's been implanted.
I see political demons, warlocks playing with pictograms and Ouija boards. America has fallen into esoteric Satanism. The magical spells of King Solomon written on my battle shield. As I walk through the battlefield, filled with landmines. Wow, my mind intertwines configurations of mathematical data in a sequential order like a Fibonacci spiral. Chromatica, which form the complex forms of matter. The universe was created from dark matter. Words evolve as I carve hieroglyphics on a Egyptian skull. The materia prima in the secrets of Osiris, captured within a black mirror. Your soul swims through protoplasma. The singularity of triple stages of darkness harnessed in your seven chakras.
Secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. But
Nazi, a group of people who want to rule the world. Hitler's second book was The World Order, the New World Order. The Council on Foreign Relations crowd are trying to establish today what Hitler established yesterday. But Hitler's been demonized. 85% of the people want a national ID card. They want what Hitler delivered.
We're living in the last days, what will be the prophecy? The seven-headed beast, place the hexagram upon the streets. Illuminati kamikaze, who are the real Nazis? Beware of the modern-day Hitler. Your Masonic seals on your dollar bills suddenly transform into swastikas. 24 elders appear from the four corners as I recite verses from the scriptures. Angels descend, the sky blackens, the sun turns into blood. Behold a pale horse rider from a distance. I see the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The entrance to the pyramids where the secrets of the lost ages are buried, wrapped up like mummies, uncovered like archaeology. This is the new discovery of the LCOB.
Secret society, trying to keep the
Illuminati propaganda, enslaved through legal tender. Holocaustic brain, Washington, superstate epicenter. There's nowhere to hide the great eyes on me. Entertainment industry, spiritual icon B. Collectively collude to leave the free man slain. Shepherding sheep into the concentration campaign. Run for your life to escape the Gestapo police. These are the real terrorists, and the fear won't cease. Capitus diminutia, engage in politics. Seers of Bavaria, worshipping the idol six. Totalitarian rule through conquest or consent. Total Aryan school, requested all the bombs sent. Yeah, you heard right, this is the new Third Reich. Double-headed eagle in flight, swoops like a thief in the night. As the prison walls harden, the parallel goals of Halliburton and IG Farben become apparent. Underneath the parent Union Banking Corporation of NYC heads up the distribution of RFID chips to make you slip into submission. Become civilian citizens of neo-fascist jurisdiction.
Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body.
Children of lost souls, crossroads, source flows. In the valley of death, don't step where the corpse grows. Ain't nothing magic like Angel and Copperfield. Novus, Ordo Seclorum on a Masonic seal. Illuminati, I'll be ill, follow what they fathers build. Eye of illumination stamped upon a dollar bill. Secret symbology, the circle in the prophecy. Skull and bones, scroll, lock and key, that's the policy. Raping the nation, the philosophy is Satan. The hypocrisy we facing like we got to be forsaken. lost without a savior, burning the corpse upon a cross without a neighbor, and toast the forgotten flavor. What? Neo-Nazi fascism, the classism, collapse system that felt the venom when man bit him. When that's given, then nothing can never come of this. The smoke and mirrors of shadow worlds that don't exist.
Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Secret society want my mind, soul, and my body, but I'ma stay incognito. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me.
Yeah, welcome to the Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And we're going to be reviewing Father Swayden appearance on the show where he was absolutely slandered. I mean, unfortunately for this show, because this show is a total fraudster show, debate bros from modern day debate. So we're going to be seeing what they had to say about our friend, Father Swayden. Total irresponsible. Irresponsible from the thumbnail. Total trash from the thumbnail. Actually, let's actually take a look at this crazy irresponsible thumbnail that they made. Right? Okay, alleging some type of PDF stuff, right? So if that's what they're totally alleging, or because of the Bible, right? Because of support for the Bible, that seems highly irresponsible. I think these people should have their channel taken down, for making totally irresponsible claims. It definitely won't be up. And how is it there? In their purview to decide who gets defrocked and who's allowed to preach and all this stuff and who's fit to preach. Yeah, I'll read my response to their garbage video, and somebody tried to respond to me, but they didn't do a very good job. But yeah, feel free to chime in, guys. We're mainly just reviewing this.
Is this about the thing from Deconstruction Zone?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what this is.
Yeah, Deconstruction Zone garbage. So let's take a look at this totally garbage video. It says on the thumbnail, Ortho Priest needs his hard drive checked ASAP.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what they're totally weird. Creepy.
I can tell you what happened.
Yeah, sure.
He runs these this Deconstruction Zone guy, I think his name is Justin. He runs these things on TikTok where you can get a pretty big following. It's not like YouTube, it's where it's a lot harder. So he's got, he does these things on TikTok. They're like long streams where, Christians challenge to debate. But he's using some pretty old arguments. And what he does is he takes stuff from the Old Testament, but he puts it in an abstract form. Like, say, for example, he used, in this particular case, he used a couple of examples, the death of infants, and he used is rape justifiable? These are references, of course, to the killings of the Amalekite children, and they killed everyone, the Hebrews did, and the rape of, the rape of Absalom when he
we got to use the term grape out here, Father.
Grape, right? Yeah. Okay. And so, because of the fact that he presented them in the abstract without talking about them specifically in the scriptures, I knew what he was going to do, which was I'd say, "Oh, grape is wrong. Oh, killing kids is wrong. And then he could say, but your God did it in the Old Testament. Gotcha. So I decided to not play that game. So I said, well, there are, I would imagine, circumstances under which these things can be justified. Granted, he had asked some leading questions, and I kind of continue to stay vague, but I'll spell it out. It's basically the bad worst scenario. Like, does one kill an infant if there's 100 infants in a building, and if they don't kill the infant, then the other 100 infants die? And the same thing with the SA or the grape, which he really didn't like. That kind of made him mad because he realized he couldn't use his typical stuff. And so once that happened, then he started asking, so where are you? And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, so where's your church? And I'm like, yeah, I don't
this is where
know.
this is where it gets a little strange, because
Well,
this guy starts alleging that he's going to IRL, like try to get Father Swayden defrocked or whatever.
Well, I wasn't afraid of that, but what I was afraid of is the fact that he had a lot of followers, and it wasn't about getting me defrocked or anything like that. What it was about was, and then he muted me as he started saying, yeah, so, someone, you should probably not sleep well at night, so on and so forth. But I was literally yelling at that point, like, you're trying to dox me. You're trying to get your followers to chase me down. And indeed, I will say that was 3 weeks ago, the original stream. And I dealt with just a lot of derps from Deconstruction Zone. But a couple of atheists who were watching were even like, that was a bad faith argument. This guy's no good. And one person actually canceled his membership to Deconstruction Zone. That made me feel super good. And so, basically, he re-uploaded this, I think, yesterday or the day before, just the part with me in it, but I'm still muted. I had mentioned early in the stream that I would record my own copy, which I did, but it didn't have my own audio, so I was like, okay, I don't know what to do, then I'll leave it alone. So basically, once he reloaded it, I started getting more people who were complaining, and another atheist actually was like, wow, that guy was really dishonest. I can't watch him anymore. So I was like really happy about that. So that means at least 2 or 3 people realized, the truth about this guy through his dishonest arguments. But there's one person who keeps spamming all over my channel. This guy approves of grape. And no, I don't. I've explained 4 or 5 times to this user exactly what I meant, but they don't care because their goal isn't to have a good faith discussion. Their goal is to try to smear someone. And so, yeah, I mean, that just comes with part of dealing with things, So, I mean, I've seen some growth on the channel since then. And I'm pretty happy. I've gotten a few people threatening, oh, we want to check your computer. What they really mean by that is we want to SWAT you.
Yeah.
I did learn that apparently this whole check your computer thing is code for we were going to try to get you swatted. And again, there's proper ways to handle that possibility. And I'm not too worried about it. But that just tells me what kind of disgusting people these are. And there's not much else I have to add to it.
Well, really briefly, just I want to say this while I have a chance.
Sure.
But it's like, what's ironic about it to me is like the atheist position is basically old school Gnosticism, but they package it as secular and then basically say bad thing happened, therefore God bad. I mean, it's like, it's the oldest heresy in the book, basically, right? And so it's like, and if you point that out to them, they know it's a lot of the higher level ones, they know that's true. They just, of course, they don't want to tell their followers that because they don't want people to know they have a religious view on things. They wanted to be like, I'm a science person or whatever.
Right. They want to present it like they're enlightened. So they've reached some level of enlightenment, which they have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And secondly, I don't know who this group is, but I bet if you look at all the connections to who they are connected to, then, it makes total sense of the company they keep, if I had to guess,
Yeah, and usually they're pretty good at not talking about who they are. They like attacking people in public because it's easier for them. My phone number in town have been out on the church website for ages, but this guy took it. He put it on his he put it in his comment section on the original, to encourage people to harass me. And it comes with the territory at this point. I mean, I just learned that's just not a place I should go.
Well, isn't it ironic that he's talking about in the beginning of it? I only watched maybe 5 minutes of it. He's talking about these youths mocking. Is it Elisha? Is that who they're mocking?
I think exactly. It was a veiled reference to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So go up, you bald head. This whole thing. So they're using that, but it's sort of the same, a similar scenario. It's like someone who's speaking the truth for God, sort of warning, these people that, hey, this is the issue, and they're mocking, So let's hope that bears don't come out because of it. I don't know. That's what I think. But there is an article by Father John Wyford where he covers this topic, and he sort of breaks down that, the Hebrew term isn't youth. It doesn't mean child. It means like a young adult, So there's further context to that they are not getting, just to sort of push you into a narrative that they want, to have or something.
Well, brother, I would say that in all honesty, they don't really want you to get to that point. They want to make the biggest, worst accusation possible. So
yeah, but it seems like a totally illogical idea that he's pushing, in that if you claim that it's moral or good to God, for God to do certain things, then you support humans doing the same actions, which is a little bit of a leap of logic. You never actually claim that, right? So I'm really confused as to how he made this leap of logic, and then furthermore used it to slander you and create personal attacks. Total, I would say lying, or basically this is like a bad faith or like blackmail operation or something like that.
Not to defend Jay Dyer, but I mean, a lot of the reason why they do the presuppositional stuff is because when you talk to these people at all, you're forced into presuppositional argumentation.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. They're baiting you into presuppositionalism, and then on top of it, they're just trying to basically they're not trying to make people believe the lies about you. They're just trying to make you pissed off so you act out, and then they can use that against you, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's why I wasn't going to play along with their game. I mean, if I have to explain further, we don't even have to presup if we're talking about the situation with Absalom. Ultimately, what he did to shame David in raping the concubines, this was something that was done, as they say in the scriptures, in the sight of. Go what? What are we doing?
No, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's basically it was done in the sight of all the surrounding villages at war with Israel, etc. Unfortunately, what he did basically could be justifiable as just a show of power, so that they wouldn't bother with them, and so he didn't really want to deal with these possibilities, because he wanted to make it a binary of right wrong when there's stages of right and wrong in every situation. And he didn't like hearing that possibility, so he just switched over to threatening me.
No, if I'm not mistaken, with a situation like that, that's not God necessarily forcing anybody to do anything.
Right.
If he possessed the person to do this. It was
unless they want to throw away free will, but see,
Yeah, he does throw it away. Yeah, he does throw it away, because he says that that God constantly violates free will. But I think still, it's like and that's what's the good thing about putting their worldview on the defensive, because they're claiming, like Gnostics, that A, God did these things, and B, it's not justified because you have to hold God to a human, moral sensibility, and right. So I just think that that's very interesting and telling.
Are usually sort of documenting what human beings are doing, and it's like news reports from ancient times in some sense. Like, you wouldn't get mad at the newscaster for telling you so and so happened, this event happened, and it was associated with maybe this other event. So
Yeah, but he's attributing extreme causality to God, which a Christian would not attribute. Like, for example, he's saying that every time a king orders a dude to grape some ladies or concubines in the ancient world, not only is God responsible for that, A, but B, the whole situation is held to a ridiculous moral standard found in the modern world, which is that the women should have bodily autonomy or whatever the hell he says.
Well,
right,
yeah,
which is
well,
totally stupid.
Yeah, it was stupid. And I mean, one thing that is, he pointed out that the prophet Nathan warned David that this would happen to him as a consequence of his actions. That is what we usually call simply predicting the future. It's not like, like the prophet Nathan was responsible for it. It's not like God was responsible for it. David was responsible for it, and he brought it upon himself. And yet, it's like all of a sudden, all these things are God's fault. It's a very, very childish way of looking.
Just because God knows what's going to happen, and
doesn't mean he's rooting for it exactly.
Well, but then when you say that, well, then you're an atheist. Therefore, you hold the same responsibility as Mao Zedong. Oh, you're taking that out of context or something, right? See what I mean? It's like,
right.
Well, in his worldview, let's go back to the bear situation. In his worldview, there is no God. So what is it? What's that really story to him? Okay, some youths insulted, some young adults or some youths insulted a bald man, and then got mauled by bears. That's the end of it. From his worldview.
Right.
So what?
Right. Like every time somebody gets mauled by bears, like God did it. Like it's like, what are you, a Gnostic?
But you don't believe in God, though. So what's that?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So it's untenable position. He's, obviously bad faith.
Ironically, it comes all back to like idealism and faith at the end of the day. It's like you can't have idealism or faith because that means you believe in God. It's like, okay, so what do you believe in? Nothing. Okay, so it's like literally it's nihilism.
Yeah, where did he get the idea that women have autonomy or that you can apply modern standards to concubines in the ancient world? Like what? Like where?
Well, supposedly
totally
he was some sort of Protestant pastor, so he would have understood that. So he's just presenting it in a very dishonest way.
Yeah, this
he's
is
full
totally
of venom. I could see that. Just his attitude. It's very nihilistic. So he was formerly a Protestant, but then he apostatized from Protestantism, and now he's a full-blown atheist. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, and he's formed, he's got his online cult, and he's happy with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he went from being a pastor and to lying about people online. #winning.
So,
right?
It seems like something probably happened in his life where he felt like it should have went another way. And, that was probably God attempting to humble him in some sense. And instead, he's in this state of pride or something, haughtiness or something. That's what's happening.
Okay, so are we gonna? I don't know. Are we watching this video on the screen?
Let's see the absolute arrogance of this. Of this, this dude. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and feel free to respond. Blessings.
Father Joseph, are you? I'm so used to asking if you're at least 18. You're at least 18.
I hope so.
So you earned those gray whiskers. So I'm not going to take that from you.
Is he not?
And,
he plays friendly at the beginning, which really threw me off. I had no idea what he was aiming for, but he seemed like a nice guy, so I was responding as nicely as I could.
Oh yeah. It seems like he's like youthful, healthy. Person, obviously extremely articulate. It seems like he could have been like in the military or something.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of a lisp, which is automatically disarming a little bit, because he's sort of like this. So it kind of like it kind of makes you feel at home. So yeah, he's got that sort of
folksy kind of attitude.
Yeah, charm, like he's a southerner or something. But yeah, definitely. So yeah, it draws you in. But then his sort of line of questioning is totally dishonest.
Yeah.
So feel free to chime in, guys. Blessings.
Believer in some kind of a God.
I'm an Orthodox Christian.
Cool. And do you think that the biblical God is all good, partly good, or some mixture?
No, I believe he's all good. I like how I should mention this. I've noticed this since I've been on atheist streams. One of the things they like to do is put animated stuff in the background that looks really evil. So in this case, they've got like some mythical god creature that just looks really angry, like a final boss in a video game or something.
Well, that's almost the Protestant view of God, is that he's this angry God that's ready to send everybody to hell or something.
Yeah, but I mean, I think atheists do that on purpose to, evoke that sort of imagery on purpose to like spike up their followers.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So my StreamYard is crashing. I'll be right back, folks. Blessings.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I could go to this just a little bit because I know what the argument's about to be about. So I was reading this thing from Father John Whiteford about this whole Elijah thing, and I think he was pretty spot on. Father John isn't.
Yeah, he's got some good points at times.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have convinced this guy. This guy had an agenda. he was obviously aiming he was obviously aiming for a gotcha, and it didn't happen. So he got mad. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's straightforward.
Well, TML's back. I'll save it for another time. So.
Oh no, you're welcome to. Take the floor if you want.
Just get the video going. But really, something Father John points out here, he says Elijah wasn't an old man. He was the same age as they were, because he lived 60 years after this. So he was around the same age. At least if they were 20, he was 30, something like that. He finished prior to this, he'd finished doing a mercy miracle for the entire city nearby of Jericho. This took place in a cult city somewhere between Bethel and Jericho, a distance of about approximately 10 miles. And the people that were doing this, these youths, they were like a gang. They were an anti-Yahweh worshippers, so Baal worshippers. The harmless teasing was hardly that. There was a direct confrontation between the forces of Baal and the prophet Yahweh that had just healed the water supply, casting doubt on the power of the benefits of Baal. There was a mass demonstration. If 42 were killed, how many people were in the crowd to begin with? 50, 100, 400? Elijah didn't call out the bearers. He merely pronounced judgment on these demonstrators. God decided what form the response took. This cursed judgment was part of the covenant stipulation. It was a reminder of Israel's responsibility and opportunities for blessing as well. Okay, the visible display of Yahweh's power and reality, like the previous display of his kindness and activity for them, was a design to avert a far greater calamity. So that, there's a lot of context here that he sort of like lays out, and I think it's kind of interesting that they're not, like you said, they're not interested in that.
Yeah, I think our guy Justin wouldn't care about any single one of those.
Yeah, he draws out an insane hypothetical and then asks Father Swaden if he thinks it's justified in any context for this to happen.
Creating a binary. Yep.
Yeah, and then he applies the same morality to humans as he does to God, which God is totally increased in power, which he'll have to admit, right? And then, of course, Father Swaden gives other examples like governments and stuff.
Yeah,
that have
he didn't want to talk because all he wanted to do was to get me to say no, so that he could then attack me with the scriptures, and I wasn't going to play his game.
Yeah, and besides that, to take interpretive license on the scriptures, right? That's not even the purview of an Orthodox priest, so he doesn't even understand what.
Well, and you notice it's like. These guys seem to be in cahoots with other people who don't want, orthodoxy to be successfully explained to people. You know what I mean? Like,
because he's explaining it the way a Jew would explain what happened. Not a way that Saint Irenaeus or a Christian would explain what happened. So he's not using the Orthodox worldview to explain those things, right? So,
well, nothing's up for private interpretation. It's up to a consensus that in our worldview. So,
But you notice they won't go and attack Hindus or even Islam or even Catholics
No,
as
because
much as they do, you know.
yeah,
Oh yeah, because they know they want to grift because that's the biggest game in town. Is
Yeah,
Judeo-Christian or
but
whatever.
yeah, exactly. It's the milieu of America where we've already had Protestantism for 500 years, and they can just prey upon people's ignorance. Essentially, I mean, it's literally just predation of Gnosticism on Christians who are confused. Essentially, you know.
Yeah, and they will talk about Muslims and Jews, but they'll talk about the Jews positively and Muslims negatively, as if the Muslims are barbarians and if the Jews are like the most advanced civilization on earth. Right? So it's actually
Well,
interesting how they go.
that's essentially what Weinstein says, and again, that's why I keep bringing this up because it's like, okay, so you have like secular Jews and religious Jews and Protestant Christians and Catholics and all these people, and obviously secular, Islam as well, where it's like they're all doing the same thing, where they're just trying to get people to tell this narrative about modern, the modern age, in totally secular terms, but wrap it in the veneer of whatever occultic version of the religion they're talking about, so.
Yeah, and that's a challenge to this guy. Why don't you attack the Jays who wrote this book according to you, right? And instead of the Christians who interpret it in a totally different way and don't attribute those events to all of the sources and causes that you attributed them to. Right? So it's very, very strange take that he has. But yeah.
Well, what's ironic is he agrees with those people in a lot of ways, but see, he doesn't want to admit that. That's the irony, right?
Yeah.
Those gray whiskers, so I'm not going to take that from you. Partly good or some mixture?
No, I believe he's all good.
Okay, cool. Do you think that God has ever done anything that is not good?
No.
Okay, cool. Do you think that, let's say, like children, do you think children should be punished for, I don't know, like making fun of somebody by death?
See, now he's shifting the moral view because he's saying, "Do you think?" He's not saying, "Do you think God can so and so and so?" Right. So he's
and
already
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he's trying to confuse the situation. Yeah, he's shifting the moral scope.
But note how he leaves out any context. I know the context, and he knows the context because he wants to trap me in it. But because I know the context, I'm not just going to automatically give a yes or no answer. And so basically, he then is trying to work around it and trying to add little details. And so you'll see.
This is why, again, I think that if you're going to ever talk to these people, you basically have to employ, deep presuppositionalism to the point where they just get annoyed, because if you don't, you'll have no ammo to hold them accountable, because what you'll find is obviously they're standing on quicksand and you're standing on a rock, and they're trying to drag you from the rock onto the quicksand, and then say, "Oh, look, you're a dumbass. You don't even know blah blah blah." It's like, okay, well, what do you believe in?
Well,
nothing.
I think that this is part of the reason why he had to rely on what he did at the end, because I wasn't going to give him that space, and because I didn't give him that space, he just decided, okay, I'll just make this guy's life worse, which was always I didn't consider that as a weapon in the arsenal, because I think that that's disgusting. I'm not, if I debate someone, there's never in my mind the possibility of threatening them into submission, but that's exactly what he tried to do.
Yeah. Well, before that, he made a crucial error, which is that he tried to defend the views with his own. He tried to defend the situation with his own with his own worldview, and tried to apply that to the situation. And we all know how that went.
Yeah.
Right. He said that the concubines have bodily autonomy.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I don't think anyone understood those words in the ancient world, and they would have laughed if they did.
Yeah.
That was insane.
So.
Depends on the circumstances.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah. I think that, for example, children making fun of, say, God in his presence to cause consternation among the public. I think if a child does that, it's horrific and kind of not the most realistic thing. But yeah, one could imagine circumstances mocking the dead in their presence. I mean, there are things where, you know, children would naturally not do that, but perhaps a child under the inspiration of the demons can.
Sure. Then it would be okay to have the children executed.
Well, if they were like seriously causing, you know, psychological damage among the community or something like that, or
children.
I think if they're hurting people, kids can unfortunately. Well, of course we should treat children good as they are, in a positive sense. But I mean, we can't deny the fact that even 5-year-olds have shot other people. I mean, like the potential for evil is still there in a child. It's just usually it has to be inculcated. You know, I mean, I hate to say it, but moral perversion, for example, that can be caused through abuse. So, you know, the fact that you just generically say children, it's not a cover.
If a group of junior high students make fun of a pastor for being bald, would it be okay to execute them?
See, now he's changing the scope again, because in the story, bears did it, right? And so what's interesting is that he's now saying that we should execute people on blasphemy laws and asking people that. So he's now falling outside of the idea of, does God have moral authority to punish his subjects that A, he created, B, he could bring back to life, and C, you know, they have eternal souls and all that type of stuff. So he's totally misconstruing the situation, you know, taking it completely out of context and then applying a fake standard of morality to the situation that he basically pulled out of his ass.
Well, and again, there's no juxtaposition. There's no, you know, like if you were to say to him, well, like, are we supposed to lock them in a cage for the next 70 years? Is that a little bit, is that more merciful, or like, what's the, you know what I mean? It's like for, you know, for doing a crime or whatever. It's like, you know, he's definitely, you know, he's just doing this kind of like Captain Obvious stuff. And again, he's just trying to get you to say something. And again, that's why, you know, the questions, you just have to cross-examine these people and be like, okay, define this term, define this term, define, like you have to say like, you have to be pedantic and annoying like you were if you're in a courtroom, because all they're doing is just trying to get you to say something that they can take out of context, while at the same time using language that's extremely vague to elicit a reaction out of you. I mean, they're literally just doing a prosecution tactic, essentially. And it's you know, it's Freemasonic, frankly, you know.
Yeah, he's egregiously moved the goalpost from a conversation about, does God have the authority to punish his moral, does God have the moral authority to punish his subjects that he created, and he's all powerful, B, right? 2, should we make blasphemy laws to punish children? Like, what? Like, what planet are we on now? You know, it's been 2 minutes of questioning, and he's in a totally different moral framework now. I mean,
yep. I don't know. I don't know the circumstance.
You don't know?
No. I mean, we're asking these things in a way that's emotionally slanted, but in reality, there can be situations where that can happen.
Well, let's say that the pastor was like really emotionally hurt. Like he thought the kids were going to like him, and it turned out they're making fun of him because he's.
And he's moved from a prophet of God that's being commanded by God to a pastor in a church. Somebody that anybody could, you know, anybody might have a problem with. Pastors in church do all sorts of egregious things. You know, why should anybody support a pastor in a church? So he's moved it again to a person of less authority, less standing. You know,
yeah, he's just waiting for me to give an absolute no to something. That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, and again, there's a total lack of motive situation. I mean, those kids could be making fun of them because they saw a real crime, but they're scared to say the real crime, so they just, you know, use a joke to, you know, get across the point that this person's untrustworthy in a way that's, you know, I mean, like there's so many other ways you could slice it, right? I mean, it's just like let's make up some random situation with no context, and how would you react? I mean, it's like,
Yeah, and this is exactly how women argue. You know, they go like, "Oh yeah, well, what if, what if somebody did that to you? What if this happened?" I mean, it's like, what, dude? Like, are we even talking about the same subject anymore? Right? This is crazy. I mean,
He's bald.
Yeah.
Is it okay to kill him?
Don't know. I mean, what we're gonna have to have more certain. Like, I know that this is most likely some sort of reference to a religious text. So I mean, it's kind of, I'm too. You notice I'm pretty old. I'm kind of past that gotcha thing.
Well, it's not a gotcha. I'm just kind of curious. The reason why I ask like these hypothetical
like,
questions,
what the hell, dude? Like,
It's
like, what are you
totally a
saying?
gotcha. He doesn't like that. It's not a gotcha yet. It's a gotcha. Don't lie.
It's
Yeah.
not exactly what it is.
Exactly. Like Father Swayden catches him like exactly what he's doing. He's like he smugly just goes, "Oh wow, man. What the hell? All right, dude. Like we know what you're doing. Like like you got caught. Like that's all that happened."
is because if I don't ask the hypotheticals first, then Christians will turn around and walk all over themselves and change their minds about things that are, clearly ridiculous. So it sounds to me though like you're not going to do that because you're doubling down. You're saying no, it actually is okay to kill children.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's because one thing I've learned over time in debating with people is that in general most gotcha questions are emotionally derived. So they're for the audience to evoke shock. And so I'll roll right in. I said it's an all good God, and I'm serious about it.
Cool. So then what about babies? Is it okay to like execute babies?
Not under most circumstances, of course not. But it is. You notice I don't make it universal.
Is there a circumstance where it is okay to execute babies?
Well, if you're talking about the children of Amalek, for example, like in that case, the entire society was so warped it had to be wiped out.
Yeah, see, that was very smart. Father Joseph pointed out that he's changing context in which the situation is implied, and he said, "I'm not saying it universally," so he got him again. I mean, right?
Well, here's the thing: is this guy universally believes that women should have reproductive rights?
Exactly. So exactly. It's okay to kill babies, just not when God does it.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, it's like basically it's all about the motive. Like, well, if you believe in God, everything you do is wrong. But if you're secular like me, you can do anything you want. It's great.
Yeah, you can kill loads of babies.
Referring to?
Sure,
but you're saying there is scenarios. Okay, so if a society is truly evil, it's okay to annihilate them, to commit the genocide.
Can I ask you, was Hiroshima justified?
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think anyone should be dropping atom bombs on anyone else ever.
Okay, well that's good. At least you're consistent.
What
I mean,
the
they
hell?
did that.
Like, is he some kind of crazy utopian? Like, is that where you're deriving your morality? Like, what the hell? Like, nobody
and
should
this
drop.
is what it's going to lead to: is an antichrist utopia. This is all this idealism leads to.
No, it's a pseudo utopia because it never works.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, he actually believes that his fantasy hypothetical situations that he can derive an ideology that works in the real world with those belief systems. No. This guy's incredible.
And it doesn't, and it like you're saying, it never actually functions. Like but it's all about feeling morally superior. That's it. It's a pride game.
So nobody should drop nuclear bombas ever. But where does that, so what? Then what? Where do we go from there? Right? People have them. It's preventative.
Well, was Pearl Harbor
mutually assured
okay?
destruction?
You know what I mean? It's like every action has a reaction, especially in that type of situation. Why would that not be the case with God, who's all knowing and all great and all just? And if man is going against everything he tells, it's like the flood. They were warned over and over and over again. It's like, why are we pretending like God doesn't send out warnings and prophets and try to turn people away from these paths? It's not just like, oh, I'm going to instantly go to the extreme, but sometimes it takes the extreme for men to come to their senses and repent. 'Cause- 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 'cause-
Yeah, I mean, this is totally untenable. Utopian sort of scientism that this guy is espousing, in the face of morality that's been functional for over 2,000 years and held societies together for 2,000 years. He's claiming that some fictional utopian system can do the same for society. Total bullshit. Total assumption on his part. Right? I'd like to see it tried and actually work the way Christianity has for 2,000 years. A total farce.
Because they wanted a quick end to the war, and there's obviously other reasons. But certainly, in a purely human standpoint, governments have made that decision, sometimes to great effect.
Yeah, and I would
I'm not saying
obviously,
it's right.
yeah, obviously I would disagree with those governments, and that's my position. Okay, so then,
whoa, whoop-de-doo, man. What do you want, a cookie? Like, like what? Like, how are you going to oppose that? Are you going to oppose technology? Are you going to oppose the state, or what? What a stupid worldview. Like,
He
honestly.
doesn't understand his role. That's really where it's at. What's the problem here? It's like, you don't understand your role. You think you can judge God. You're not the judge of God. God's the judge of us. So
he even
see
thinks
how
he
that
can judge
works
the
out.
government. Yeah, he won't stop at God. He can judge the government too with his secular morality.
Well,
This
yeah,
guy's off the
he's
chain.
the judge of all. He is God.
Yeah,
he is his own impersonal God.
Yeah.
What about the Egyptian babies? It was okay that they all died.
Well, I mean,
The firstborn.
If God decreed it, I would say that he had reasons. And in many cases, forensically, we don't know what those reasons are. There could be a number of cases. There have been cases in history where a future generation of an enslaved community takes over violently as revenge for the first set of killings because the kids were allowed to live. I'm not saying that's a good way to do things, but I am saying that repercussions can happen if, you don't go with total death. That's part of, I would say, even basic war strategy at this point historically.
Well, how many
the fact
times
that,
did God
you
warn the
could say-
Egyptians? How many times did he send Moses to perform these miracles against their magicians? To get them to stop and repent and turn back from their ways. And what did Pharaoh do? He doubled down every single time, and he wouldn't let Moses' people go. So what do you do in that situation? You have to do something drastic. God had to do something drastic to let Pharaoh know you don't run things here.
Yeah,
and your
or
gods
even
are false.
Yeah, or even he's not understanding the ancient system of war at all, because you either had to kill or enslave the population because their generations would come back and make war upon you. So the whole purpose of
he doesn't want to understand the ancient system, and he certainly didn't want it brought up.
Yeah, because again, he's working with his fake hypothetical justification that has never been tried, and he's going to apply this fake system of morality to the ancient world, for no reason at all, right? Where it's like,
Well, what I like to say is I like to be like, okay, so like you think that event that Mean Mr. Mustache did was bad, right? Yes. Okay, great. So you think that the war fighting him was justified, right? Yes. Okay, how many children died in that war? Well, that's different. See, I mean, it's like,
or today, the Jews are dropping bombs and killing hundreds of children. Gaza is literally the top place for child amputees, the number one place in the world for child amputees. Right? I mean, these is sick people are.
Well, again, it's funny because this is the argument that Weinstein's making, and again, I keep talking about it because it's like, okay, so you have all these different, quote unquote, right wing and left wing groups talking about, oh, this and that, and Weinstein's to tell his argument like, well, the psychological damage that's done like by the Germans with the bouncing Bettys and the Viet Cong in Vietnam. It's like, yeah, but see, then when he goes and talks about that other place, well, war is justified, and therefore, sometimes you just got to do bad things, and it's like, so it's like, on one end, deride anybody who would support psychological damaging stuff, and on the other end, like, well, sometimes you got to break a few eggs if you want to make omelet. I mean, it's like,
Well,
it's
to
it's
be,
crazy.
it's to have the leverage of, okay, well, this is the status quo, and we're upholding the status quo, and we're on the right side of history, and you know, just to paint that narrative. It's always the same thing. It's an emotional argument, and it's an emotional argument out of context. So, what is that? It's stupid.
Yeah, like just like every society on earth, they had the most justified form of morality in the world, the most progressive form of morality in the world. Here you stand. And just like the Christians thought. Like, what's the difference between you and them? And right, you're just a fucking, I mean, you have no justification, and right, for what you're claiming, and you're applying two different standards. He's just, in plain, as plain as day, applying two different standards. I mean, crazy. And then moving the goalpost, and then also slandering people and lying about them. Man, this guy should be shut down, right? For sure.
Well, where's his zeal for abortion? Since he's so upset about children, right?
Right.
Okay. So what? Why doesn't he go out and protest that then?
Right.
Like the fact that you could say God did it, therefore he's not good, but it is, if it in fact is a legitimate war strategy, one might ask perhaps whether God was simply using a strategy that worked.
Well, is God
and that we've seen proven to work.
Is God capable of doing it without killing the babies?
Well, again, this is the automaton question. Whether, God can force people to do good.
No.
Of course he could.
That wasn't my question.
Yeah. But it's part of the question, because you're saying.
My question is, can he accomplish what he wants to accomplish without killing all the babies?
Not within the paradigm that.
Oh yeah, great. Nerf the world. That'll fix your moral system. Like what? like, oh yeah, like what in the world? Like, why should God create some kind of a nerfed world? I mean, right?
He didn't want a nerfed world. That's the point.
Right. Right. Or how do you know that most of the suffering in the world isn't the cause of humans and nature isn't just good? Right. I can't answer anything.
Yeah. Has been created. No.
Okay, so then he's not all powerful.
It's not an issue of all powerful. It's an issue of whether he should break his own rules.
What
if he gives us free will, and it's our job to do the right thing?
He breaks people's free will all the time.
Explain.
Have you not read the Exodus when he hardens Pharaoh's heart like 6 different occasions?
Well, Pharaoh's heart was already capable of being hardened because he was outside.
I just say that, obviously from a mechanistic worldview, from a mechanistic standpoint, they don't have free will either, right? So nobody has free will, if you want to play this game, right? It's
so what does it mean that, Father Joseph, that Pharaoh hardened God hardened Pharaoh's heart?
It's similar to what happened with Judas at the Last Supper, where a demon was allowed inside him to continue his work to betray the Lord.
But the free will's still there. So Judas still, even in that moment, or even Pharaoh, would have had the free will to do something.
To choose otherwise, correct.
Yes, but he didn't choose otherwise, in other words.
Right.
Okay.
And what this guy here is trying to argue is that is deliberately caused by God, not realizing that Pharaoh had a say in the whole matter at the time.
Right. Now that's a problem of a private interpretation of reading the text outside of the patristic consensus and understanding historically of how the church is interpreted.
Right, and this guy doesn't care about it. He's looking for words to twist. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think he can necessarily deal with A, atomistic determinism, B, the idea of, just that, he won't be able to deal with atomistic determinism, right?
Yep.
So, where he can't prove where free will comes from, he's literally going to need God to do that, right? So it's really an odd, he's like fault finding where he doesn't have a solution to the problem. Right?
Well, that's what he wants, to create an era of confusion, and I'm not playing with it. So he doesn't. He's getting more annoyed.
Yeah, and his solution is that, oh well, nature bad, therefore God bad. But it's like, you know what I mean? How do you know we don't live in the best of all possible worlds? And B, why do you think that nerfing the world would make people more moral? Right? It's just total stupidity. Right?
And also from a Christian worldview, it's like, okay, why is the world in the state that it's in? We had paradise at once, and we fell from that through disobedience. And it seems like, a lot of times people like this don't understand that there's such thing as a bitter medicine. So God will allow certain things to happen in order to correct things in the long run. But if you have a nearsighted view of that, especially a death, like nothing dies in the eyes of God, only dies of men. So, yeah.
Is hardening somebody's heart a manipulation of someone's free will?
Not necessarily.
Then what is it?
Well, it can be a push in a direction. God does push both good.
Could God soften someone's heart?
God, has he softened someone's heart?
I'm asking you, could he?
Well, I mean, but the text, I would say almost probably better than I do. So we know that God can soften and harden hearts.
Okay. Is that a violation of free will?
I don't think so, because if a person really wants to, they can change.
Well, there you go.
Well,
so then God could soften the hearts of people without killing the babies.
Just pause for a second. I mean, what isn't a violation of free will? If you go and you talk to somebody, isn't that violating their free will because you're talking to them and influencing them? I mean, come on, it's retarded. It's like you could literally call anything.
It's a terrible argument. Yeah, I agree. I know.
Well, God also tried to soften Pharaoh's heart by sending Moses to, consistently let his people go.
Exactly.
He didn't instantly go straight to, the hardening of the heart, and it was partially. I think it, like you're saying, it's Pharaoh is the one who is his heart is already hardened.
Yep.
For being tempted by that, I guess.
Yeah, he's led astray by his own disobedience. I mean, for sure. Right? But yeah, so he's definitely missing the context.
And get to the end goal.
Well, you don't know that. We don't know what the actual historical circumstance was where that was done.
Well, if the answer is no, then God's just not all powerful.
No, you're assuming that
God's just a
not
definitional argument. This is how definitions work.
Well, the problem is that free will allows us to do things that are not God's will. And so the point is, while God may influence us in one way or another, in general, he does not. I think that to me is standard Christian orthodoxy. I'm not exactly sure why that. Well, I guess if
Jesus says that Jesus.
That's surprising that this guy doesn't understand that evil has no ontology. The entire St. Augustine thing. It's incredible that this guy doesn't actually understand that, right? That right? Because if we started bringing out the ontology of evil type of stuff, and and all that stuff, like there's no way this guy could even deal with the metaphysical system.
These are probably questions that led him out of Protestantism, and
he didn't study them thoroughly.
Right, and but Protestantism in itself is sort of a weak, diluted version of Orthodox Christianity. It's there's no great heroes in it. There's no, so if you don't have these great saints that sort of explain these things, with revelation, all you have is like your own, logic and reason and trying to, put that through your secular filter. And you're just not going to come to those questions, the appropriate way.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, both Platonic and different philosophers, they had an idea of how the good relates to reality, right now. Obviously, they had a problem because they had to create this notion of emanations, to deal with how the good that's totally separate from the world communicates with the goodness in the world. Okay, so that's when, different, Christian philosophers, they literally said something is good because it has existence, and evil is evil because of non-existence, by virtue of non-existence, right? So evil is evil because it's a privation of the good. It's a lack of goodness. So evil is not a thing, right?
I see a question in the chat. It says, studying the actual manuscripts of the scriptures will lead you out of Christianity. I have one question for Reddington, and that is, how much have you actually studied and seen actual manuscripts of the scriptures? I'll leave it with that. Yeah. Okay.
It says that nobody comes to the Father, or no one comes to me unless already drawn by the Father.
Yes, and he also says no one comes to the Father except through me. So
right.
It works both ways.
Right. No, but my point is that people who come to the Father come because God draws them.
Yeah.
Is that a manipulation of free will?
I don't think so. That's a call and people answer it.
Right. But again, they don't come unless God draws them.
Well, I would say to that God is continually drawing people. He wills all men to be saved. I believe you've read that before. But not all men listen. That's just a consequence of free will.
Sure. Just not to Paul. Paul disagrees in Romans chapter 9.
Paul got a violent conversion. I respect that. I got a violent conversion. There are few people who literally God kind of had a slap.
Yeah, God knocked Paul off the horse, made him bump his head, the whole 9 yards.
Made him go blind. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a violation of free will?
I think that St. Paul was such a hardened Pharisee. If you remember, he was witnessing executions and was okay with that, and thinking it was great. That God had to be a bit direct to him.
So God can violate people's free wills.
I think that he knows whose free will he needs to mess with and who will benefit from it.
Yeah, but you said he can't violate his own rules.
Well, I said he wouldn't violate his own rules.
Okay, so sometimes he does violate his own rules.
This is another thing, by the way. Oh my God, this guy's total military op commercial or whatever from like, I don't know what they're showing here. Is this when they, bomb the USS Liberty? Or what are they showing?
Yeah, you can skip it though. The skip button's up. So
there's a presupposition there that God is, disobeying his own rules or something. Well, what does that even mean, really? Is there a set rule book that God has given us that says that, well, I can't not do these things. I can't do these things. So is it saying there's putting limitations on God, which why would we do that?
Yeah, and he's not dealing with the idea of as I said before, the idea of existence, goodness being part of existence, evil being a privation of the good because God is immaterial, right? So he influences the goodness in the world through the property of existence by allowing it to exist. All things exist through God's love. So literally, the conclusion that they come to is that evil does not have an actual ontology, right? This is what allows free will. So I just think that he's not even, and that's a very shorthand version of, the idea. Obviously, it takes hours and pages and entire books by St. Augustine and all that type of stuff to actually understand that. And right, to understand the metaphysical system, right? So he's not dealing with the system on its own terms, right?
Yeah, they don't even. Yeah, I would say he probably doesn't even know any of that.
Yeah, like a real professional debater would. Like a real guy would be able to do that. But But yeah, go ahead, Unseen. Sorry.
Yeah, so with these saints, you got to think a lot of them, they spent years, 40, 50 years sometimes studying the scriptures. They're fasting, they're doing services, they're praying, and they're being gifted some form of discernment and, synergy with God through the Holy Spirit to, being blessed to interpret these things, So they're actively working towards understanding these things. If you don't want to really understand them, of course you're going to come up with some wild interpretation that fits in your negative view of God. It's cognitive. It's not, reality.
Yeah. Miracles are flawed.
Okay, so God can't violate the rules. Okay, so then what prevents God from violating the rules to bring about the goals that he wants without killing all the babies?
Maybe he thought that maybe he realized that, these people had become so deranged and degenerate that it would have been too much psychological strain on the rest of the world population. I have no idea.
To let the Egyptian babies live?
Yeah, like maybe they were just really horrible babies.
But he left the Egyptians. The Egyptians are still there, and he only killed the firstborn. He didn't kill the secondborn, the thirdborn, or the fourthborn.
Well, but those would be different. I will say, I will say that the horrible babies was a joke. It was a really bad joke, and unfortunately, I was playing off of a Louis C.K. skit, and I really should not have. I really regret that line now.
But yeah, you made the point though, because the fact is that what is deciding that God can't do these things, and what circumstances allowed God to do these things, because he's all powerful. You can't understand the level of planning or understanding that God had when he committed to these acts, right? So it's just clear what you're saying. While being crass, it makes the point, that look here, what and he took that whole detour about applying it to human situations, and then brought it back to so he sort of cleverly did this whole detour to prove it to his audience, while moving the moral goalpost, as it were.
This reminds me of something from the life of Saint Anthony. Saint Anthony asked God a question. He asked God. He says, "Well, why do bad things happen to good people?" And God answers him and says, "Anthony, worry about your own sort of salvation. It wouldn't benefit you to know. So a lot of times we have questions that just won't even benefit us."
Yeah, we got we got Reddington seething about the problem of evil.
Seething.
But we'll get to him in a minute. I mean that with love.
I'm not TBE, son.
Yeah,
I don't seethe.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it as a joke, because it's just funny. It's like we got Reddington here, barely hanging on. He's about to spurg. At any minute now.
Nah, I'm good. I'm just tired of these power outages I've been having lately.
Yeah. Blessings, man. Thank you for Neuro for joining again. So he sounds unseathy. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, for sure. But yeah, Reddington's totally about to lose his mind, up in his house.
Still somewhat, different Egyptians. The
firstborn and the secondborn is sometimes only a year apart.
Okay, so basically, in that case, it may have just been a matter of scrambling property rights. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah, certainly a matter of property rights. I agree with you. Do you think there's ever
it'll mess up the property rights pretty good? So.
Yeah. Think there's ever a scenario where like a man's wife should be sexually assaulted as a punishment
by her husband or something?
By
see there. Got him again. Like, by who, man? Who's doing the assault? See, he's claiming that God's doing the assaulting. That is a hop, skip, and a jump. You know, right? Because, like, dude, like, and then when he reads the text, it becomes even more confusing. It's like, wait, what are you talking about here? Right? You know, like, what is God like? You know, like, this is wild. It's hard to understand how in the Christian worldview, where there's secondary, primary, causes and attributions. Obviously God is immaterial. Within the worldview. This is all wild stuff that he's, like, he doesn't understand.
Well, yeah, this is again. He's referring to the aftermath of David and Bathsheba, and it's just like with the babies. It's another attempt to genericize something horrible that happens in the scriptures. So that I'm like, oh no, I'd never agree to that, because it's always a dumb game with him. So he tries this one.
Well, again, it goes back to something we said at the beginning of this conversation, and it was like, if I'm not mistaken, you said that the prophet Nathaniel prophesied this to David, correct? That this would happen.
The prophet Nathan.
Nathan, okay. So the prophet Nathan prophesied this to David, that this would happen.
Yeah,
so
for what he did. First off, David had done an extraordinarily evil thing. And that was, he had his harem, he had his, he had everything he wanted, and then he sent the husband to the front line because he saw a woman bathing and wanted her, and ended up getting him killed so he could take her as a wife. That's like literal scummy behavior. And he's the author of the Psalms, obviously, and he repented and became holy. But the truth of what he did at that moment was so awful. What he did in those days was so awful that the prophet Nathan had to come and tell him just how awful he had become. And that's what made him write Psalm 50, which we read now. It's a prayer of repentance all the time.
In other words, it's like God had seen this coming. He tells, the prophet what is going to happen. He relays this to David, and it's documented in the scriptures. At no point is God coming down and entering the man that did this.
No, this is all literally just stuff that was consequences over consequences.
Right. That's why I think context is missed a lot of times on purpose, because people don't want God to exist, and they don't want to believe in God. So
yeah, exactly. This guy wanted no context at all.
We'll say an intruder. So, like, for example, if I do something bad, is it ever okay to punish me by having my wife sexually assaulted?
No.
There again, right? He moves it to the human justification, which, by the way, he's working within an entire scenario that was caused by humans at this point. So
yeah, and in that sense, that's why I was able to easily say no, because now he's making it about my house. So sure, okay, yeah, no, that's not.
It's like, what? Yeah, he even goes as far as to say, "What if it happened to your daughter?" I think he even says, "What if I did it to your daughter?" This guy is crazy. He's like, wild.
He's awful. Yeah,
yeah, it's like it's totally crude.
I just heard that one, and it doesn't follow.
Okay, that should never happen then.
In theory, it shouldn't. Now there is the question of war, and I don't like this fact, but it is still a fact of reality that many times people who have killed a husband in war will take the wife as booty. Unfortunately, that has happened since time began. If that's what you're referring to, but if you're referring to
it shouldn't happen in war either, right?
It's war.
But the question is should, not does. I'm saying should it happen in war?
Yeah, we should be honorable with women in war, absolutely. But
should God be honorable with women in war?
God's not involved.
He certainly is involved.
Like what? Like, dude, like, and this is why I think that Father Swayden does a very good job here, because he brings in a mediation between God and individuals, which is the government. So what minute are we on here? Because my StreamYard is crashing and I'm gonna have to come back in a second.
12:07.
12:07. Thank you so much. I'll be right back.
There's also, I know, just like from reading, liturgical texts and the scriptures, and just off of memory, there's an understanding that God will right the wrongs that we experience in this life. So that's kind of like a missed thing too. It's like, we're going to have, if we didn't have the bad, we wouldn't know what the good was a lot of times, I think. And in the long run, we're going to experience some awful things in this life because we're in a fallen world, and it's unfortunate, but we do have the promise of, to keep the faith, and we'll be rewarded for that. So
Yeah, I mean, this guy literally believes in utopianism, and then he's applying his utopian moral system to the Bible. And then he thinks that, and then he's pretending like all these things happen in the Bible. These people don't even have, an eternal soul, and and they're going to be judged and all this stuff. So, I mean, he just wants to have his cake and eat it too. Or he wants to work within a totally weird framework. And it's like, why should you be allowed your completely fanciful, wild framing of the issues, right?
Yeah.
And then also use it to slander other people. Like, what an absolute piece of shit. Like, what
and
the hell?
not every mocking question deserves an answer sometimes,
Yeah.
Because we just don't have them all. We don't have all the answers. But as Orthodox Christians, we should trust in God and say, I trust His decisions. I trust that He is, He's wiser than everyone. And
what is the Epicurean paradox?
Oh, it's something he explained on the show the other day. I'm not sure we have total time to get into that at this moment. But also I'll drop the link for Origin if he wants to come up and do the whole Epicurean paradox thing. I mean, you're obviously more than welcome to try that out for size. I obviously didn't give a response the last time he did that on the show because I had to end the show.
Okay.
If I remember right, it was basically the problem of evil boiled down.
Yeah.
Just with a little extra things on the side.
Yeah, I'm reading. It reminds me of, I don't know if you've seen this meme called the baby candy paradox. But I'm looking it up for now. If a God knows everything and has unlimited power, then it has knowledge of all evil.
Yeah,
and the
power and
to put
goodness.
it.
Yeah, it's either all powerful and not all good, or all good and not all powerful.
Yeah,
the same thing this guy's kind of trying.
I'm reading the premises off of Wikipedia. But if it does not end it, it is not completely benevolent. This assumes that a greater good cannot be accomplished with the action of evil. If a God has unlimited power and is completely good, then it has power to extinguish evil and wants to extinguish it. But if it does not do it, its knowledge of evil is limited, so it is not all-knowing. This, again, runs into the problem of the omnipotence of God, may see a better solution by allowing evil. If a God is all-knowing and totally good, then it knows while the evil exists and wants to change it. But if it does not, it must be because it's not capable of changing it, so it's not omnipotent. This leaves aside the question of time. Okay, I don't see a paradox. Okay, let's continue.
I would leave on this note on that question. It's like, good and evil aren't equally opposing forces. Evil is the absence of good. It's when we give into evil, it has substance, but otherwise it does not. Just the same way that when
its substance is a warping of the good.
Right.
So it's like
a
evil is more like
perversion of the
mold.
Just like when you turn your light switch on, the light doesn't fight with the darkness. It ends. It just dissipates.
It just dissipates it.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's all I got to say on that. Thanks, Origin.
Yeah, and you're welcome to come up we yeah, they definitely understand the issue. They've heard it 1,000 times, and this guy's kind of going off of a similar issue. I mean, so I've definitely gave some of the responses to how he's framing his views of moral justification. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. But yeah, this guy, there's not a lot here for sure. It's 12 minutes in. It's almost halfway through the video, and he's barely landed a single point.
In the Old Testament, God says, "I will deliver them into your hand."
Right, but that's not you. I mean, people on the ground.
Yeah, I agree. God says, "I'm going to deliver them into your hands." He says, "I go out and fight in front of you."
Yeah, but he did not physically turn into a person and fight.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't incarnate himself. No, I don't think he did.
Yeah, the angel of the
He
Lord
appeared as
the angel of the Lord manifests and killed like 200,000 people.
And I would assume that the angel of the Lord manifesting and killing 2,000 people wouldn't look like a person.
Well, I mean, the angel of the Lord is
operating-
described as looking like a person in the Old Testament. It's kind of irrelevant. Like, if you believe that God is
he's
sending
described
the
in 2 different
angel of the Lord to descend and fight on behalf of the Israelites, it's essentially the same thing. Like, God can just send his emissary, and bada bing, bada boom.
Sure.
So no one has to get graped.
Bada bing, bada boom. Let's have God's emissaries nerf the world. Like what? Like what? Like why? Like why would an all-powerful deity vouch for that option? Instead of trying to create, humans who are responsible for the systems in the world, or try to, create situations, where they, maybe judge for their faults, where their deeds are weighed on a scale, or, what are the circumstances that are involved in this situation? Because, he's totally, as we see, he's shifting, the ideal from a human ideal to one of God, when the power is, totally different. So I think that is a huge idea in my mind. I don't think I could think of any other, because power is a huge aspect of morality. If you don't have power, then what can you do with your morality other than, try to shame people or virtue signal, or that's basically all you have. All right. So
yeah, morality has to be backed up by law. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know what he's doing with his idealistic views, right? Or what that's going to get him. Right. I guess it's good for online debates, but what's that going to do about the problems in the world? Right.
Well, I don't know.
Okay, so let me tell you a story though.
I'm gonna raise you up one card there, because this God is all knowing, correct?
Well, it depends on what part of the Bible you read. In Genesis, he's clearly not. Good. And Deuteronomy, he's not either.
Okay, no, I'm not talking about your reading of the Old Testament.
No, it's
general
just
Old Testament.
It's just absolutely true.
God is. Okay, so you're saying God was never all knowing.
No, I'm saying that it depends on what part of the Bible you read. It clearly in Genesis and Deuteronomy, there are things that he doesn't know, and he has to find out. And he tells you, I have to find out.
Let's try this a different way. Is it standard Jewish and Christian belief that God is all knowing?
For Christians and most Jews, but not all Jews.
Okay, well, I don't care about atheist Jews. Or the freaky ones that believe in 12 gods or anything like that.
I know what he's referring to in Genesis.
It's a standard Jewish and Christian belief that God is all knowing.
So in Genesis, I think he asks...
Chapter 18, I think.
Well, something about, what I'm talking about is him asking Adam and Eve a question. Did you eat from the tree?
Too.
Okay. Well, just because he asked doesn't mean he doesn't already know. That would be mine.
Yeah.
What he was really doing there is giving them the opportunity to tell the truth, and instead, what they did was they shifted the blame.
But that wasn't your question.
Yes.
The question was, what is it? If God was all knowing, and I said according to the text.
Right,
I didn't say.
Right, but I never.
I don't really care what people believe. It doesn't matter to me what people believe.
Well, then why would anyone take your statements as relevant
Well,
either?
because what Christians and Jewish people believe about the text.
Yeah, he kind of cooked himself with that statement. Like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing here, man? Like,
Satcham bone.
Doesn't change what the text says. My belief about the text is independent of what you believe about it.
That's fine. But my point in bringing that up is that such a belief could, in theory, assume things like future bloodlines, future genetics that God would be aware of.
Sorry,
that humans are not.
sorry. Can you do me a favor? Can you back it up? Can you back it up
Now,
15 seconds?
right, but well,
Can you back that up 15 seconds? Let me hear. I want to hear what this guy said. Can you slow it down just for like a little, just for a minute? I want to hear exactly what this guy said.
Because what Christians and Jewish people believe about the text doesn't change what the text says. My belief about the text is independent of what you believe about it.
That's
pause
fine,
it. Pause it.
But my point in
Okay, let's deconstruct what he just said there a little bit. Okay, that's an incredible thing. He just, so what? First of all, it's like it doesn't change what the text said. Well, the whole thing is about the interpretation of the text. So obviously, it does matter.
Yeah, he's trying to say something that obviously we don't understand the text to say, and that when I point that out, he wasn't happy about it.
And what did he say after that? Sorry, just go back one more time for 10 seconds. I want to really unpack what he just said there. Hold on, because he already
wants to say
destroyed
that
all.
He's trying to say God is not all knowing, and that you can prove it from the Bible. And the problem is, if someone believes that God is all knowing, they're going to interpret those passages differently.
Well, so. I mean, he's basically destroying his own argument, and like the last three statements he said, he destroyed all his own arguments. So, like, let's just listen one more time what he said, because it's actually very, like, I've been listening for over an hour, and he just destroyed himself, like, totally.
He kind of cooked himself, because he's like came out as it said, like he's just like big time moral relativist. But yeah.
Why would anyone take your statements as relevant?
Matter to me what people believe. I didn't say.
Right, but I never.
I don't really care what people believe. It doesn't matter to me what the text.
Right,
I didn't say.
Right, but I never.
I don't really care what people believe. It doesn't matter to me what people believe.
Well, then.
What the hell? Like what?
Literally, his whole argument is like, if you believe in God, you're bad and evil and dumb and stupid and everything's your fault. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, basically, unfortunately.
Like, dude. Like, you lose, you get nothing. I mean, good day, sir. I mean, wow.
Why would anyone take your statements as relevant either?
Because what Christians and Jewish people believe about the text doesn't change what the text says. My belief about the text is independent of what you believe about it.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Like, what the hell? I mean, wow.
In other words, my interpretation is superior to every saint in history, the entire church. My singular own interpretation trumps all other, consensus of councils and everything throughout history, and desert monks. Wow.
Like, man, like, end your stream. Right? Like, what the hell?
But my point in bringing that up is that such a belief could, in theory, assume things like future bloodlines, future genetics that God would be aware of that humans are not.
Right. Yeah. You have to assert that.
But now you don't.
The text.
Right. But well, if you believe in an all-knowing God, it's assumed.
Oh, I agree. If you believe in that, yeah.
Right, but if you want to say there's 5 different ways in the Old Testament where I think I can prove God's a schmuck, you could do that too. But no one will care. The point is,
they certainly do care.
He may have a justification that may not be immediately visible.
Right. Okay. So give me the justification for 2 Samuel chapter 12. When David is punished by Nathan the prophet for what he did with Bathsheba, right? You remember the story?
So see, who's doing this? Like who? See. Look, who's doing the punishing? Is it Nathan the prophet? Is it God, or is it the guy who David is beefing with? Right?
Yeah, like Nathan didn't punish him. Nathan told him what was going to happen, and it was horrifying, and it was his own fault.
Right.
This
Like,
is going back to shifting the blame. It's the same thing in the Garden of Eden. The snake did it. No, it's the woman you gave me. No, it's Nathan. No, it's God. No, you know what I mean? It's like there's no accountability for anything, and
yeah,
that's rooted in this person's own inability to be accountable for his own actions.
yeah. Here, I mean, last time it was egregious moving of goalposts. Now he's just totally just, you know, at this point, false attribution of causes. Like in plain daylight. Like what the hell?
Yeah, that's the basis of Psalm 50. David repents. Psalm 51 in your book.
Okay, so it says as part of the punishment in verse 11, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in broad daylight. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel in broad daylight. And I assume you think that was a befitting punishment for the women to be sexually assaulted?
So hold on.
Well, again,
Another presupposition.
Yeah, just pause that. Yeah, just pause that right there. Because first of all, he said God's doing this to his own people. Am I wrong? Like, so God's saying, "I'll do this to my." Am I wrong about that? Like, he's saying that he's doing that to the Israelites, right?
Yep.
Okay, so so he just over that fact first of all, because you're taking his worldview into account. He's basically saying that you believe this about God, and what about children? It's like he first of all he's not talking about the entire world, right? So that's a distinction in and of itself right there. So
once again, when we're talking about slightly post-Christian societies, women were often seen as property, but more importantly, they accepted their role as that. So they would have been much more passive at the idea of being just taken away. As to whether that's a befitting punishment for the prophet David, obviously that's what God said.
Is it a just punishment?
I mean, he did that to some guy and had him killed. So yeah, I think it's kind of fair that he had his wives taken away.
So let me ask Father Swayden this: is he what he's quoting? Is that Nathan saying that to David? That's what Nathan said to David, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's not God speaking to somebody. That's a record of what Nathan said to him, of like essentially that So it's like he's conflating the word of a man with the word of God. I mean, essentially. I mean, it's insane.
Nathan's relaying what God said.
Sure, but my point, but it's a slippery slope the way he's presenting it. It's like, okay, so there's no like honest take a look at like the context of like the paragraph before, the paragraph after, the chapter it's in. What's going on in the you know what I mean? Again, I'm not saying that you take one little piece of the Bible, you totally take it out of context and say, well, God is basically saying that you should, I'm not even going to say the words, but you know what I mean. It's a very
what's happening here is that God is saying, the Lord is saying that I will raise this up against you, and what he's doing is he's giving him a warning. And because what he basically says in this is effectively to the, you are going to have to suffer this in response. And David accepts it, and then Nathan says, well, then you won't die. So even then, there are still choices, but the point is...
and again, it's like it doesn't take into context, like you said, like if men are the emissary of God on earth, and women are effectively a part of us as men. It's like there's a hierarchy, first of all. So again, it's like so. If you were to take a secular situation and say, how do you make man moral? If somebody's evil and he wants to go and do these type of crimes that's being discussed right here, right?
Yeah.
And there's zero consequence whatsoever, uh, and and this person basically goes from like a person with little empathy to someone with zero empathy, with no repercussions. How do you do that in a secular sense? You say, well, you just do whatever you want. There's zero consequence whatsoever. I mean, it's like, I think it's more about how do you get across the message of what's being said here, right? And again, I mean, I don't know how to explain it in a biblical sense the best way, but it's just funny. Like, even from his own point of view, he's basically just saying, well, like, there might be a consequence to evil actions. Isn't that wrong? I mean, isn't that evil in and of itself? I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredulous or
So if
whatever. I
God
don't
is
know the right.
just, why wouldn't you expect him to hold up justice for evil actions? You know what I mean? It just doesn't. But that's the thing, is like, if you don't want to be accountable for something, you're going to say, well, God's evil for, well, he shouldn't have created us in the first place, or, he allowed it and it's all his fault. And it's like, okay, well,
I have to work hard to get a piece of bread, therefore I have the right to steal it and kill anybody that gets in my way. I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's
I didn't
absurdism.
make myself hungry. God made me hungry, and therefore I mean, and that's the way the argumentation's leading. It's like, it's basically like, and again, I know that he's putting you in a very difficult situation, because the subject matter is so like emotional when you start talking about like women's rights to say no
Well,
to sex. I mean,
yeah, and that is
he's
exactly
trapped into
why.
that.
Yeah, I get nonstop now. I've gotten nonstop for the past 3 weeks comments saying I'm a rape apologist or grape apologist, because he's basically like, at the end of this, as you'll see, he's like, come on guys, let's get this guy, and then he put up my town and my phone number in his comment section on the original. So yeah,
that's
but
insane.
Is that against the law to do, by the way? To have,
I don't. It's technically not against the law.
It's not against the law. All right, that's crazy.
Well, it depends on the pattern of behavior. I mean, there is a case to be made that it crosses the line at some point, and I'm sure there's people looking into it at some point. But
Well, we don't have to ask. There's plenty of things that aren't against the law that are evil. Let's just face it.
Yeah, what he's doing is definitely
what he's doing is totally
an evil
evil.
act, for sure. It's evil. Getting proven wrong in an argument, getting angry, so I'm just going to slander you and have my cult attack you. Yeah. But somehow he's morally superior.
But really briefly, there's this guy that I follow. He does this channel, which I'm not going to name on here because I don't want, if any of these creeps see it, I don't want to name it. But he said this thing one time that stuck out to me about how he looks at the Bible. He's like, the Bible's a record of what happened. It's a record of what was said. It doesn't mean that it endorses the actions of everybody in the Bible, right? And so, it's the Word of God, but it's also it's an historical and if you want to secularize it, mythological text. So, I mean, even from his point of view, the way he's taking it is basically like saying, well, every little, so he basically is saying that it's like, okay, so God's not real, but then I'm going to read it as if God is real in like a materialist sense, and therefore hold anybody who believes in God morally responsible for what this fictional character says in a book. I mean, you know what I mean? It's a very gigantic leap in logic, through and through. So it's funny. It's like he's the ultimate fan fiction writer of God. I mean, that's what all these people are.
Well, I think, yeah, like I was saying, is within Protestantism, you have a lot of these guys that become pastors, and they don't necessarily believe it. A lot of Protestants don't, and they just use it they look at it as any other job, and but well, because there's a lot of absurdities in the Protestant interpretation of the scriptures. It doesn't make sense already. So you're going to come to a point where it's going to clash with the way you understand and see the world, because you're not actually getting the answers in that tradition. You're just not. But when you are presented with those answers, if you're not open to it, you're instantly going to be scandalized and shut down. Even the apostles were scandalized by Christ. They said, "Wow, this is a hard saying." But really, was the saying hard, or was it just that they weren't ready for to accept what he was telling them? So, what's so hard about salvation?
Okay,
I
so
mean, it's hard, but
so it is
kind of fair. All right.
Yeah. I mean, in the sense that, in the long run, this is, you're being offered paradise, and you're more worried about, how people interpret something the Savior of the world is telling you. And that was an issue within the apostles themselves. So, of course, someone who's already an unbeliever is going to have trouble and reach these stumbling blocks in their interpretations of the scriptures. It is what it is. It's inevitable.
So it is fair that 10 of David's wives got raped.
Good
Well,
lord.
we don't. They got they got used or married off, etc.
They didn't get married off.
Okay, can you demonstrate that from the text that they were all killed?
They weren't killed. They were put into a separate location after they were raped. So in chapter 16, Absalom storms the palace and comes in under the advice of Ahithophel and assaults the women.
What's the chapter?
So somebody else told this other guy to do it, and a prophet predicted that it would happen. And to him, through some weird chain of causality, right? That's God directly causing, David, his wives, which he's changing into wives, which they're actually concubines, right? So it's totally weird framing of the situation. He's being totally dishonest with the framing, right? But yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, too, it doesn't say anything about grape there, right?
It actually doesn't. It actually doesn't. It's actually surprising. It actually doesn't say anything. It just says go into the house. So he could have been doing other things. He could have been,
We don't know
that
if
might
the
be a common
concubines went
interpretation.
willingly with the guy or whatever. That's not told to us. So it's presupposing something that we can't do that with scriptures. If we're not told something, we shouldn't assume immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, Father Swayden kind of says that. He says that they probably just went with the dude because they're concubines and that's their job. If you go into somebody's house and say, "Oh, you're coming with me," then that's what's going to happen, right?
Well, I mean, I would even go so far as this is. I mean, I'm gonna call it like it is, but he's skipping chapters. Basically, he's skipping what happened with Ammon, who is David's son, and Tamar, who was his sister, or I think first cousin, and Absalom was horrified by, because Ammon does rape Tamar, grape Tamar, and Absalom is so disgusted by this. This could have been known through the area. I'm not saying this like to just be casual about this stuff, but the simple reality is Absalom is described as basically the most beautiful man in Israel. And these women were servants of David, who now has his perverted, incestuous son raping his sister. Like, they might not have had a very high opinion of David at that point. And, Absalom might have looked like a hero to them.
That's what I mean. It's like if we instantly go into these texts with like a presupposition, we're always going to come out of the other side just like a distorted view of what's going on, And a lot of times, like for example, when like if you're reading from a King James Version translation, I'll give you an example with like the word evil. It doesn't hold the same view as we have of evil today, as in like a moral evil. Sometimes the word ra means like natural disaster, So there's context that that even by scribes has been sort of kind of walked over, and that leads to misinterpretation as well, I think. So
chapter verse here.
We're in 2 Samuel 16. The advice of Ahithophel. So when Absalom tries to take over the throne and he chases his father out of Jerusalem, as a display of force over his father, now that he's in the palace, he asks Ahithophel, what should we do? Right? And it says, Ahithophel said to Absalom, go into your father's concubines, the ones he has left to look after the house, and all Israel will hear that you have made yourself odious to your father, and the hands of all who are with you will be strengthened. So they pitched a tent for Absalom upon the roof, and Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. So,
well, you said wives earlier, so these.
Right. Yeah, he changed it from wives to concubines, and then also
It sure does that.
Yep.
And also, what's all this in the sight of all Israel stuff? It seemed like this was a thing that was legally, that there was a legal precedence for. But yeah.
Well, what he's basically doing is he's doing a power play for the throne. So he's basically saying that basically, if you look at the context there, Israel already knew about his turning on King David. So he's basically making a moral stance and basically saying, I have the right to this throne. It's David who's the interloper. That's weird, but it's in chapter 17.
Yeah, interesting.
These were concubines, right?
Concubines are wives.
Not exactly.
They are according to Exodus 21.
They're higher.
What the hell? Concubines are wives. You hear that? So, what the hell? Like, wife equals concubine. Like, what?
He's
In
really
what world?
trying to save his original ambiguous argument that he made earlier, even though it's falling apart in front of him.
Yeah, like, why even distinguish them? I mean, it's why do they have different names then? I mean, this is just it's crazy. I mean,
Status sex slaves.
one's a slave.
You're making it worse, not
yeah,
better.
exactly.
No, I mean you're the one who used the shocker claim that people taking wives, but the truth is they were concubines.
And then why is he making it worse, not better? Oh yeah, because everybody has to follow his utopian ideal where women have autonomy, bodily autonomy. He's gonna say it in a minute. Absolute craziness. All right. Yeah, I was not making that up.
Yeah,
I assure
let's
you
get
guys.
to that, definitely.
Yeah, weirdness. Because you could laugh for half a minute at that.
Doesn't matter what you call them. What happened to them was unjustified.
And here it comes.
So
why?
Let me see if I understand correctly. Because David had actually stolen someone's wife, Absalom violating his sex servants, if we shall, who that was their job. Like, it's. I mean, I'm sorry to say this.
So if you're a concubine, you're not allowed to have autonomy over who you sleep with.
What? What the hell?
I had nothing. I mean,
oh my god! Like what? Oh my god! Like, where were all the ancient liberals, man?
Yeah, I know. The bodily autonomy concubines.
Oh man, the Bible's wrong because ancient liberalism. What the fuck? Oh my god! I mean, in what world? I mean, right? This is totally ahistorical idealism. At the very least. Right, but granted, his materialistic, mechanistic, scientism, what the hell is he actually smoking? Right, right, like does he actually claim that they should have the same moral as secular humanists from the 21st fucking century? What an absolute clown this guy is. You know what? You know, this guy shouldn't be allowed to debate. This guy's on modern day dumb boot. I mean, insane. Right? We tried to get on there, we got kicked off. Right? By Sarah the Raging Tomato. Interesting times.
I don't think any women thought they had autonomy at that time. No.
I'm asking, in reality, should they have autonomy? Should they be allowed to say who they sleep with and who they don't?
What you mean by in reality is in our modern era, and I'm saying that is not our modern era.
I didn't say it was. I'm asking you.
Yes, you're calling it reality, but you're not talking about the fact that
I'm
it's
saying
2,500 years
in
ago.
real life, in the life that we all live in, should it be?
That's the modern era.
Should it be the case in all eras that women should have a say over who they sleep with?
You cannot do an absolute over history.
Yes, I can. I'm asking should women?
Look at Father Swade's reaction. This is hilarious. He's like, what? Oh my God!
I just lost it at that point.
It's gone from is God justified, you know, in punishing his human subjects to should ancient women have bodily autonomy? You know, what in the world? Absolute comedy hour.
In all time periods, be allowed to say who sleeps with them.
Okay, and you want to apply universal across all eras, correct?
Yeah, this is easy. This should be a knockout for you. All you have to say is yes.
What's the yes?
I'm just waiting for a yes that women should have autonomy over their bodies in all time periods.
That's historically untrue.
I know it's untrue. I'm asking about should. I'm not asking about if it actually happened.
Why are we doing ought questions over history?
Because the ought question
what
is
does that even look like?
Talking about the morals of the God who is
what does that even? I'm just trying to imagine what that. So they have bodily autonomy now, and they're twerking on the cell phone. So like what? You know, like what's? You know, like what's the great? You know, what's going to change in the ancient world once women, you know, can twerk and, you know, have bodily autonomy and, you know,
it's just nonsense. What are we going to do? Time travel? I mean, like.
Well, I appreciate you, TMO, and it's good talking to you, Father Joseph. I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, blessings. Yeah, yeah. We're about to wrap this up.
Benedicite.
Benedicite.
Yeah, blessings. Yeah, we're about to wrap this up. I think I'll retitle this video review of Father Swaden versus DZ debates and put the @YouTube thing.
Oh, much appreciated. We should do that. That'd be awesome.
Tomorrow I'll have that up. I mean, I'll bring it back. You know, tomorrow I'm gonna unlist it today, but I'll bring it back tomorrow once I change the title because this is because this is was supposed to go on the other channel just as a side episode. But now that we've done all this, I think I'll just cut it off after we're done watching the rest of this video and just save it as a review of Father Swaden versus DZ debates. And yeah, total clown show over here because this is its own thing. So yeah, so we'll just leave this up. So tomorrow, look for that here, guys. And obviously just save the link if you want it. I mean, obviously, guys.
Yeah, also, he has the channel, the main channel that he puts it on is Deconstruction Zone, which is actually a lot bigger. So if you want to do that,
yeah, I'll send you the link to that. I mean, once I change the title there. Yeah,
cool.
So, yeah, blessings. Yeah,
timeless.
And if anybody wants to say anything about Father Swaden, send them this video right here and say that this guy's absolute bullshit fucking liar.
I'm gonna promote this video on my channel too after you put up the new title.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, bless you. Yeah.
Get it now. Okay,
I don't think you do get
it. I mean, honestly, I'm not doing it for promotion, but the fact is that, you know, Father Swaden is a friend of the channel. I mean, Unseen Warfare, and and Father Swaden. So I just thought that this was.
Well, actually, no. I think it's a great idea. You know, I wasn't sure what to think at first, but you know, honestly, so many of these people are being so retarded that they keep saying, excuse my language, they keep saying, like, why don't you put up your copy of the video? My copy of the video has no audio on my part, so it doesn't help me. But this helps. So I'll put this up and I'll tell them to watch that.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, for sure. I'll send it right over soon. But yeah, right now my StreamYard is crashing. So talk to.
So you have to come back.
Yeah, so
right.
talk to Reddington for a second. But yeah,
2009 is the timestamp.
For sure. Thank you, Red.
All right, and I know I went to the SoundCloud. I want to hear what your stuff sounds like.
Oh, you probably don't.
You'd be surprised.
Just think noisy stuff.
Well, I'm trying to find music that I can put to an intro. I don't, but
yeah, I don't know. Maybe like one or two might.
I mean, would that be okay if I just like a little clip and I'll put credit in the description?
Well, the credit's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to uncredit someone. That's you did work on this, but I'm always looking because I still have no intro. Oh, okay, you're back.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely Father Swayden in front of the channel. We had, one of the few interviews we've had, we had Father Swayden on. So we're definitely republished that video. Legendary interview that we did. And then also, Unseen Warfare, as you know, he's contributed greatly to the channel.
Yeah.
And we greatly appreciate the True Orthodox. And I know you're one of his teachers. He has a very high opinion of you. So yeah, definitely we wanted to get this out there. I talked to him about this. I saw this the other day
I didn't expect him to republish it, but he did, and so I started getting more harassment in my comments.
Yeah, me and Unseen have been talking about this, and definitely. But
yeah, I kind of do. Like, autonomy didn't exist 2,500 years ago, therefore God bad, right?
Well, God is the one that caused it to be that way, according to the book. So the question is whether or not it's ever just for God to punish 10 of David's concubines for having them sexually assaulted. Should that ever be considered?
Now he just misattributed causes completely again. We talked about this 100 times, but yeah, now he's saying that it was directly. Now he's coming out and just saying, well, it was directly God that caused it.
Yeah, and there's no clear evidence that it was SA. So the point is, he's just misinterpreting at this point.
Yeah, like he's also no clear proof that they're his wives, and also he said wives are concubines, folks. So he's dancing.
He's getting it wrong. They're not the same thing, and he knows.
Yeah, he's changed nearly every definition or or context of the story. It might as well be a completely different story if these were his wives and God directly caused this to happen. And like what?
A just punishment.
Let me see if I understand correctly. There is an assumption here that concubinage was not common among all societies at the time.
That's not my assumption whatsoever.
But if you include that assumption, then that is on the table for God.
That's not my assumption. My assumption is that all women should have autonomy over who.
Notice he called it an assumption. There couldn't be a more perfect word for it. Like, what the hell? Like, do you not hear yourself?
Yeah.
Sleep with them.
Like he's calling it an assumption, folks. Like what?
There should never be a time period in any point of history. I know it's not history. That's the problem. Your God is supposedly ahistorical. He existed at all points in time. He should have known in the Bronze Age and in the Iron Age that you shouldn't punish women by having them raped for crimes their husband did.
Yeah, God is ahistorical, but the Bible is a history. Like what the... Like what in the world?
And on top of that, let's ignore the differences in terms here. We're just going to all combine it all together. It's insanity. And at this point, I started realizing when I was in the middle of it, it was insanity.
Yeah, like God is ahistorical. What does that even mean? Like if he existed,
I can only think of how certain Christians will say that God's outside of time. That's
yes.
About
like that
the
I
closest
believe that
can
God's
think of.
outside of time. That's
like
that he's outside of his creation, but he interacts within his energies. But what does this have to do with history? like the assumption here he's saying is that everything bad in history is because of God. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he's having a problem, and that's that once you don't follow history, you fall into idealism. And man, it's common error. Like, dude, your idealism is causing you to just negate history.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe he said over 2,500 years, God should have known that our understanding of women's autonomy. Like, I'm just picturing, like, what kind of.
Well, you got to have the angel of the Lord in the bedroom before it happens. I mean, right? Stopping it.
Yeah, and the angel has to sound like one of these liberal, types that are like,
you have violated this woman's bodily autonomy, sir.
I can't.
That's what the angel says before he stops the grape from happening. So that's his perfect world.
Again, I do not know what would be the post effects, etc., in terms of potential pregnancies, future children. It's too broad of a question to answer.
Is that this guy's name? DeFreak? Is his name Justin? I'm not familiar.
I read
with
it
this
was
gentleman.
Justin. People said it was Justin.
His name is Justin. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'll drop the link if DeFreak wants to come up. But yeah, blessings. I see there's 23 people watching. If you want to come up, I guess we're gonna wrap this up in like 5 minutes. Right? But yeah,
he said he'd come up last time and he didn't, as far as I know.
Yeah, after this video ends, we're gonna wrap this up.
Oh well.
Answer.
Yep.
Not a broad question. Just so we're clear, you think it's okay that God had 10 of David's concubines sexually assaulted?
I'd say it was. I'd say it was visibly fair punishment. I don't know if those
fair punishment. Wow, this guy.
Well,
do you have daughters, Father Joseph? Do you have daughters?
Weird.
Yeah, this is where he starts getting nasty.
Creepy, dude. Do you have daughters? What a scumbag, dude! Like what the fuck? Like none of your business, dude.
Yeah, this is where he starts. This is where I start getting really nervous and.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally creepy, weird question. I mean, I don't blame you.
I do.
Oh, what would happen if somebody did this to one of your daughters?
None of this would happen in the modern Christian.
It's a hypothetical. Would you be upset if it did?
Well, of course I'd be upset if it.
Why?
That's kind of it's kind of a self.
It's not. Why? Why would you be upset?
Because I wouldn't want my daughters to be hurt.
Because it's unjust, right?
That is a leap and bound. Like anybody who doesn't want that to happen to their daughters is standing on the grounds that it's morally unjust. No, dude. Some of them are just being selfish. Some of them don't even care about their daughters. They're doing it out of pride. Like, what is this guy smoking, really? And right, like once you say that, I don't want my daughters to do that, then you believe it's morally unjustified as a category. Like what?
This is where he spirals into basically threats.
Yeah, this is where he totally, shouldn't be allowed to do this sort of thing, in my opinion. I mean, because he's, something else is going on with this dude.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming they were innocent.
Yeah, is it ever just to punish innocent women for crimes they didn't commit?
Again, we're not talking about an autonomous society. You're trying to create absolutes out of the past.
You're right. Yes, because justice has a firm definition. Justice is the idea that the people who commit the crime receive the punishment, and the people who don't commit crimes don't receive punishment. So the idea of justice is timeless. It doesn't matter what time period you live in. So all you're saying is that you're okay with the God of the Bronze Age being unjust. That's what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is I do not, once again, understand the mind of God nor the circumstances. However, do we know what happened to the concubines afterwards?
Yep.
What happened?
They were placed in a separate home because they were defiled, and they lived out the rest of their days in solitude.
Okay.
Chapter 20.
Maybe that was better. Maybe that was better than living under David.
I don't know if it was better. The question is whether or not they should have been sexually.
Yeah, literally, Crimea River, dude. Like what?
assaulted.
No, that's my point. Not you're focusing on.
The question is whether or not they should be sexually assaulted.
I didn't.
If God merely wanted to put them into a safe house, he could have done that without having them raped.
Once again, we're placing moral judgments on a situation where we were not present.
Father Joseph, are you credentialed? Are you like a real priest?
I am a real ordained priest. I don't understand what the relevance that has, but sure, if you want to call me Joseph, you can.
I mean, your name says Father Joseph.
No, but you can call me Joseph. If you don't respect that, I mean, you were a pastor, right? I'm not calling you ex-pastor Doug or anything.
I'm just saying it's in your title. I'm just using what's in your title. Okay.
Would you like me to change it?
No. So you're a Greek Orthodox. Did I hear you Greek Orthodox pastor?
Or
priest?
Orthodox Christian, sure. Yeah. What's the point of that? I see your chat. They're calling me all sorts of names, and it's fine. I'm really okay with that.
What's the name of your church?
Yeah. By the way, some of the comments there in this guy's channel are literally saying that people who believe what Father Swaden believes, or anybody who reads the Bible and takes certain interpretations about the Bible, that they're a moral danger to society. So yeah, these people are.
There was one guy who actually said I should be raped by Absalom.
Oh yeah. So they're threatening and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So they think that that's all justified. All right, but you can't read a book about this stuff. It's crazy. Interesting.
Well, one thing that I will say is this is about the point. It's right around here because I start asking, why does he want to know the name of my church? And it's right around here I get muted, and this is the end. So,
wow, crash and burn. Watch these cowards strike my channel. Watch this shit. Hilarious. Absolute coward shit.
Why?
Just curious. They might want to see this video.
Well, they can. What do you mean if they might want to see what video?
You're a defender of the faith. They should see this video watching you defend the faith.
This is going on my channel. You think I'm actually ashamed of my arguments?
You should be ashamed of your argument.
No, why?
You should be. You should be losing sleep over this. Actually,
I am actually not losing.
Great.
We're shaking in our little space boots. Good Lord.
I would have actually put up my copy. Unfortunately, it didn't have my voice in it, so I didn't. And someone else said that I shouldn't because, quite frankly, what they did was so bad faith. What he did was just bad faith.
Yeah, the title and the thumbnail don't match the content of the video at all. They're like, what? Like you're saying you're alluding to PDF stuff, and so are some of your commenters, and you're not saying anything against those people that are clearly, lying.
He's not saying they're not only they again. He's encouraging.
I have to go. I'll see you later.
Yeah, blessings.
Yeah, he's encouraging it. He actually put up my name, my phone number, the city I live in, and he's like, this guy needs to have his hard drive checked. So that's what he wanted. He wanted me to get, swatted, but I will not say whether I have or haven't. I will simply say, because if you say whether you get swatted or not, people who want to do stuff like that will be encouraged. So I'm not going to say what happened.
Then what's the name of your church?
I'm not losing sleep.
What's the name of it?
I don't want your fans to come after me.
They're not going to come after you.
Lie. They did already. So you're fucking lying, dude. No.
Yep.
So maybe you should go check who your fans are, because you're lying about that. You're fucking
he encouraged it. He encouraged it on his own page. It's disgusting.
Yeah, he literally encourages it and then says they won't come after you. Like,
well,
what?
my thinking is that he figured since I posted since I'm still alive, so he had to repost it with a better title so that he can encourage it some more.
Yeah, what a fucking coward, dude. You lied right to the dude's face too. Yeah, nice job, dude.
I don't know that. I don't know what kind of great. Once you
don't want him to see this then.
No, I'm putting it on my channel, but the way these people are talking in your chat, shoot, I don't know what kind of crazies you got.
What's the name of your channel?
NFTU?
The name of your channel is NFTU?
Yeah, it stands for Notes from the Underground. It's the same as the name of my blog.
Okay, so the name of your YouTube channel is Notes from the Underground. Guys, make sure you mark that
No,
down.
It's NFTU. It's NFTU, True Orthodox News and Apologetics.
Fair enough. Guys, make sure you track down this guy's YouTube channel. We'll catch up with him later and make sure we take care of business. Anyways, listen, Father Joseph,
That's interesting
I had
the way you said that.
I had a delightful
business,
time talking
bet
to
you
you
did.
and letting you tell me
terrifying.
how despicable of a human being you are and how you actually don't think
that's
that
great. That's awesome.
how you don't think that women should have autonomy over their bodies and it's okay to kill babies, different things like that.
None of that was said.
Yeah, at this point when I was muted, I'm like, you're getting your fans to dox me. It's obvious, but he had already muted.
Crazy mischaracterization of the audience. We, I mean, of the arguments. We didn't hear any of that from, Father Swayden. So at this point, he's muting him and making up his positions and strawmanning the entire situation, and then, creating moral outrage so that his 1,400 viewers react to this. I mean, so this guy knows exactly what he's doing. He's being dishonest. He's lying. He's organizing slanderous attacks. I mean, wow. Excellent. Very honest debate tactics here. I mean, right? Incredible.
It's really eye-opening for everyone here, and trust me,
muted.
We'll probably find a way to make sure that your church sees this video. So just
let's go back and hear
bodies, and it's okay.
Incredible what he claimed. Incredible what he claimed.
Great, that's awesome.
How you don't think that women should have autonomy over their bodies, and it's okay to kill babies.
What the
different
hell?
Things like that. It's really eye-opening for everyone here. And
apparently, at some point in this conversation, Father Swayden said it's okay to Merkelize the babes. What the fuck is this guy smoking?
The whole point is his fan base in the chat had already started with the threats and so on and so forth. And what he was doing was he was just stoking their emotions so they would come after me. That was all.
Yeah, like the situation he mentioned was about God or a bear or we're not exactly sure. The weird misattribution of causes and contextualization, and then
Well, I think the way I see it is very simple. He realized that because he could not catch me on a fake charge, and toss me off so that he could prove his, intellectual superiority, he just decided, okay, well, we'll just go with violence then.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what I think. I'll just say it straight up. These people are gatekeeping the true orthodoxy thing. Obviously, right? They'll promote one side of the debate, right? So it's pretty obvious, and that's because that side has more popularity. So what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely. It's just, I think he hates all Christians, so I don't think he's picky, but the point is just that was.
Yeah. They take the ones that are more popular, though. I mean,
really,
right?
yeah. Go for, if someone, exposes the emptiness of your argument, okay, let's go get the fans to get them.
Trust me, we'll probably find a way to make sure that your church sees this video. So just, most likely going to be the case.
Okay, well, yep, absolute nonsense.
Wow,
Thanks
we're
for
gonna
playing.
miss you. Yeah. We're gonna make sure your church sees this video.
Yeah,
Karen.
I mean, it's the same thing they always do. I mean, it's just ironically, it's very similar to some Christians I know, allegedly Christians, but Martinez, I have a question really quick. Do you think that we're going to do the Weinstein thing today, or we can do it on a separate video? I was just asking before I.
Yeah, it'll
jump
have
off.
to be on a separate video. Definitely. Yeah, I'll have to
Okay,
bring
cool.
that back. Let's
and so I gotta go, but when you change the title, let me know so I wanna pump that up just because I really want to deal with this because I've just been dealing with this for 3 weeks, and this actually will be very helpful in clarifying, I think.
Yeah, no problem, Father Swayden. I'll definitely send you a copy of this. I have been up for like 24 hours.
So you need sleep.
Yeah. So how about that, Neuro? I think maybe I'll just like,
Yeah, we'll do it another time.
Maybe tomorrow. Or let me go and eat some food and drink some coffee, and I could open up a stream by the same title here, if you want to do that. If you still have time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can just give me a heads up, and if we can do it today, we will. If not, another time. But because I think it'll be complementary to everything we just discussed here in a weird sense, because it's kind of like you have this one that's like a lower level, then you have this next one which is like a higher level.
Okay.
Version of this.
All right. Well, I'm going to take off. God bless you. God bless you both.
Yeah,
You have
God
a
bless
great
you,
night,
Father
okay?
Swayden. Yeah. Also, I have a video. Father Seraphim Rose, little promotional video for Father Seraphim Rose. So check that out if you get a chance.
Okay.
Father Swayden. So, at the end of the episode. But yeah, blessings. Soon.
All right. Take care. God bless you all.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So that's it for us. We'll be back in maybe an hour. I'm gonna go outside, maybe drink a coffee, take a little walk, maybe smoke a cigarette or something like that. I'm terribly depressed. I'm terribly sleepy. We got some stuff. Weinstein. We're gonna go and look at some videos of Weinstein with Neuro Jack. So we'll come back an hour with that. But yeah, I'm gonna cut this off. This is gonna come back under a new title tomorrow, right? And soon, and yeah, we'll send this out. Stamp it and ship it. Father Swayden's channel. Check his channel out. And it breaks down lots of issues. Obviously, he deals with all sorts of debate topics and issues. Right? He's been kind enough to come on this show a few times. Right? So yeah, blessings. Yeah, thank you, DeFreak. I love you too. Yeah, blessings to all you people. ESP. Thank you for being here. Right, yeah, but Father Swayden, all right, Neuro. So yeah, talk to you in a little bit.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you. Thank you for hosting this. Bye. Bye, guys.
Yeah, of course, yeah, blessings. Yeah, so hold down the link, folks. We'll bring this back later. When I'm done with all the streams and get some sleep and all that stuff here. But yeah. Yeah, I made this earlier. It's a good thing to end this with. Yeah, peace.
Make it to heaven. I work so hard for you. Since my first verse debut, niggas started cloning me, the outcome. Everybody cast souls in me. They put the nails in my palms and crucified me. Since then I'm dragging my wings and used to fly me. I came amongst my own, but they denied me. I exiled and prayed for the Almighty to guide me. He cleared the path before me, constantly tried me. When adversaries multiplied, he stood beside me. Shredded his hands in the desert like I was Moses. Encourages my sin from within till my scripture closes. And everywhere I turn for help, he shut the gate. He made the road narrow and long and sealed my fate. I understand now why I didn't give up the ghost. He severely chastises the ones he loves most. Two sets of footprints in the sand became one. God's discipline is crucifying to his chosen son. Please watch over me, Lord, so many hate me. Stretch forth your hands, don't let this life take me. I've been feeling all the angels on me lately. I know you ain't carry me this far to forsake me. Please watch over me, Lord, so many hate me. Stretch forth your hands, don't let this life take me. I've been feeling all the angels on me lately. I know you ain't carry me this far to forsake me. Allah took me out the game cause he spared my breath. The industry know who I am, that's why they scared to death. I don't do faster than my cross to the ground in 94 to crucify me beside Tupac Shakur. But it was you when I was weak who helped me do the impossible. It was you who gave me strength when I faced my greatest obstacle. It was you who has anointed the wing of the Elohim. It was you who has appointed your servant to be the king. And it was you who makes me soar with the wings of perseverance. And it was you who made me like a DJ and engineer appearance. Love on the scriptures, I hit you with rain. The darkness to develop the picture, the frame of them all. The bodies and spirits, the mixes the same. Another bar, switch the elixir and script a plane. See it before it happened. I'm like a spirit trapping, trying to adapt. I see the angels when the clouds blacken, trapped in the life of sin. You know my halo's slanted, but you still watch over my life and I don't take it for granted. When did you utter your voice and I ignore you, Father? Please don't tell me back at the gate when I stand before you. Cause of you, I beat the trial for them vows in 89. And cause of you, I open my eyes every day that I am alive. Because of you, I'm able to see the prophecies and all the signs. Because of you, your words are written deep in my heart and my mind. Because of you, there were no more bullets when he pulled the trigger. And it was you who made the gun jam when I got robbed by the niggas. Because of you, I had the chance to live and be a father figure. And because of you, I met the wizard and I started with the grave diggers. Blood out my eye, Lord, I can't see. And the flood is so high, got me on my knees. When I'm judged, when I die, have mercy on me. Watch over me, Heavenly Father. Like the blood out my eye, Lord, I can't see. And the flood is so high, got me on my knees. When I'm judged, when I die, have mercy on me. Watch over me, Heavenly Father. From the buildings where hip-hop prophecy was fulfilled. And after years of sin and praise, he wiped the tears of his children. Young and last was visited by Jabril. They gave birth to the one that was sent to save Israel. A bright star guided me through the dark. Walking through Red Hook projects, it led me to Coffee Park. That's where my eyes beheld the piano safe. Upon the children of Israel, the Lord had bestowed his faith. Red Hook houses was like Nazareth. Me and my brothers Rashad came to offer him gifts. Fed the multitudes with 2 techniques and 5 mics. He made me one of his disciples. Hip-hop's the Christ when he was tempted on the mountain. In offered blacks and gold. All the folks prophets kneel down and sold their souls. Since 96, the unconscious defiled. And he was being hunted by Herod and Pontius Pilate. He raised the dead and performed many miracles. Healed the sick and the blind and made mortal men spiritual. Because of his science songs, hymns in his songs. Roman labels, cast stones, bank nails in his palms. They turned the whole industry into Golgotha, crucifying the Israelites with the highest chakra. Judas handed him over, the kiss of betrayal. For 30 pieces of silver, he betrayed Israel. I watched the birth of hip-hop, and I witnessed the crucifixion. Thug angels gave wings to bring forth the ascension. Divine intervention. Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Hear my sigh, hear my cry. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Hip-hop, my art, religion goes deeper than cars and women. We reaching the Armageddon, so ringing the alarm. The village stranded, we wonder without this trap, seeking guns for the answers, ashes for blunts in the canvas. Very phenomenal madness. Same cycle is practically touching the cactus. There's no point for the tragedy, suffering, sadness. Lips hardly move like Arthur, you and the army troops get severed. The only update is the weather on the news, that's outrageous. Constant car bombs from Al-Qaeda's and Arslan simply honk the horn in the town shaking. Devilish type moves, bush motors with elephant rifles. You should have voted now for America's Idol. The fat lady watching singing death is the title. If you don't wake up, the day's coming. I read it in Bibles. Time to face God, repent. All I see is constant sin in this apocalypse. Scientologists' accomplishments. It's obvious what the bottom line of this journey for. To carry on tradition and wisdom in early storms. Protected by alignment, we're hopping from hot rockets, surviving and giving the truth. Mission accomplished. Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my sigh. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my little savior was crucified. Please, Lord, hear my sigh, hear my sigh. I need you to wipe these angel tears from my eyes. Hear my wings, help me fly. Tell me why my ghetto savior was crucified. Look up. Look up. Look up. Look up. Hey, I'm focused, man. Good looking on this one. Wow. Plug that money machine up, daddy. Plug the machine, man. Rings and partners. Keep the screen, man. Keep the screen, man. Plug the machine, man. Keep the green, man. Plug the green, man. Keep the green, man. Yo, I got a lot of fam who got the nine to bail. Blue trial, went up north, got the nine to bail. With no chances from parole, they gon' die in jail. They respect the street code, rather die than tell. COs walking it through, got supply in jail. Still a gateman in the bins, got the clientele. Controlling the yard bar, the niggas buy and sell. Step on the toes of yard farmer, you gon' die in your cell. Niggas that see the Lord before they see the board. I made sure I sent flicks and new kicks. Every time I toured, wifey scared bitch, she denying all collect calls. Had my fans trust them banging niggas in the mess hall. It's for my 23 and 1 fam. With no human contact, I hardly see in the sun fam. I be right here when everybody turn me back again to keep the commissary maxed out and send me packages. Try to keep my money machine counting, hit the fan behind the wall with long stretches in and out. And you stay serving them, supply in the junk and put aside some for bail, man, to keep the jury out. And try to keep my money machine counting, hit the fan behind the wall with long stretches in and out. And you stay serving them, supply in the junk and put aside some for bail, man, to keep the jury out. When our family come home for their biz, we take them shopping. Hit the barber shop and take them strip club hopping. Throw them a release party, man, we get it poppin'. Give them in advance like the album is dropping.
Can't nobody fuck around with VP. Or else you grind, find yourself DEAD. You only got your eye on the prize you can't see. Cause I ain't really living my life for plan B. Anybody brave enough to come against me, gon' find your body in the bottom of the Dead Sea. How dare you ever in your life walk past me without acknowledging this man as G.O.D. I always been here, always been deranged focus. The heat is always in my hand like chain smokers. Hard work, dedication, and sustained dopeness. Bust a motherfucker head till his brain opens. Stay cooking in the kitchen like we hot sofrito. I was always smoking wakata with poppy people. I ain't never doing anything that's not illegal. Read the Torah law, black mask, black hero. This is tool to the death, this is murder, death, kill, stay real. Because the sun can't chill. M.O.B.B. Ain't nobody play around. Vinny P.P. Fuck around, lay around. This a tool to the death, this is murder, death, kill, stay real. Because the sun can't chill. M.O.B.B. Ain't nobody play around. Vinny P.P. Fuck around, lay around.
I had you laid out.
Posturepedic. Before the day's out, somebody gonna be laying bleeding. Keep fucking with me, bring you to the darker side, where the wolves playing nothing but your karma lie. You get it back tenfold, yeah, I do you dirty. I'm in my dirty 30s, that mean I'm past the worry. I got it mapped out, every plan hashed out, perfectly executed, squeezed till I'm fresh out. I got goonies, all they do is stick their neck out for a nigga, cause it's loyalty and nothing less. And with it's on, you know they got them toolies on deck. What you looking at, boy? You ain't a boss yet. Infamous, yeah, we celebrate life. Pour liquor for the dead, kill niggas on sight. When they get beside themselves, we run it right up on them. Leave them where they stand and pour some fucking liquor on them. This Something is like to the death, this is murder, death, kill, stay real. Because the sun can't chill. MOBB, ain't nobody play around. Vinny Pig, fuck around, lay around. This a tool to the death, this is murder, death, kill, stay real. Because the sun can't chill. MOBB, ain't nobody play around. Vinny Pig, fuck around, lay around.
Let me start from the beginning at the top of the list. First off, nobody could do it like this. No matter how hard you try, hard you go. No matter how hard your beats, ill your flow. Can't fuck with P. Yes, we know. I'm not a rapper, I'm a master, ceremonial. Gatherings at venues, it's jam-packed. Fuck rap, I'm in it for cream and that's that. Try to stop my dough, I run you off the map. You try to stop my life, I blow you out your hat. The most thuggish, the most ruggish, the most AKAs you heard of is bandana, banana clip, R.I.P. I can't help it, my career don't cease. No, my name don't wear out, I go on forever. That other shit'll pass and fad, it won't ever.